Hello everybody, my name is Rachel and today I'm going to show you all the other books I bought in April. At the beginning of the month I did a bookstore book haul which showed you 8 books that I bought in an actual brick and mortar store, which is unusual for me. I do most of my book buying online these days, but it was a special occasion. And then somebody pointed out I don't have to do book hauls just for special occasions. I can do them regularly and people will still, I suppose, watch those videos. I'm not sure I really want to get in the habit of doing like a monthly book haul because I want to be honest here. Do I really want to count up all the books that I got each month and admit to myself that I may have a book buying problem? Not really. I want to be in the dark for a little while more. Allow me that. But April has been a quite fun month for getting books. I've gotten more books than I know I've gotten more books than I usually do. So I thought I would just show you the other stuff and you can tell me whether you like watching videos like this from me. The first book I have is Dragon Singer by Anne McCaffrey. This is the new Saga Press cover. They are reprinting them this year. I'm keeping my old versions because you can see the difference here. Yeah, I really enjoy the cover art on the old ones, but the new editions have introductions by some really great people. The second book has an introduction by Naomi Novik, and the first one has an introduction by Tamara Pierce. I have the new edition of Dragon Drums on pre-order as well, but I don't know who does the introduction. When I have all 3 of these new ones, I'm going to reread this series because they're some of my favorite books of all time. Next, I have my Penguin English Library edition of Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. When I like a classic, I like to get them in this edition because they're nice. They're nice. I may have some issues with the cover designs, some of the contrast and readability of the text because of color clashing. Let's not get started on the orange lines again, but overall they're really nice editions, and I mean, I have to say I think that they're really easy to read inside, and that's honestly what matters. This month I also bought a used copy of Sex Criminals Volume 1 by Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky. I did just talk about this in one of my recent weekly wrap-ups. I'll link that if you care to know more about that. I didn't like it very much. Usually stuff that I'm not sure I'm gonna like I get from the library, but I did not want to walk into a library where the librarians have known me since I was born and say, hey, don't tell my mom, but I want something called Sex Criminals. That would have been awkward. The next book that I got is Archer's Goon by Diana Wynne Jones. I am trying to collect copies of all of Diana Wynne Jones's works, and I'm down to the few books that appear to be out of print completely or out of print in the United States, so they are harder to find decent copies of. Thank you to Finbar for finding this copy for me. I am hopeless at finding good used book deals online. I got this for $13 from Canada, and I'm not even gonna complain that somebody tried to drive a nail through it because it is completely readable inside, and that is all that matters. For Chris and Victoria, I have Stalking Darkness and Traitor's Moon by Lynn Flewelling. These are the second and third books in the Night Runner series, and I will soon get back to the adventures of Alec and Saragill. And now on to some of the random stuff because I was watching my friends on BookTube and went, I need some of this stuff and it's really inexpensive online, so here we go. I have the Republic of Plato translated by Alan Bloom. This is a translation that Finbar and I think Bree from Stories from the Shelf recommended to me. I did not realize that the Republic was this long. The question is, can I read this in the next 60 days before Joe Walton's second Thessaly book comes out? I don't know. I don't know. I should not have proposed that question to myself. Next is Sewer Gas Electric, the Public Works trilogy by, I'm covering up his name, Matt Ruff. This is a completely random book that I saw on Jane's channel, and it went, okay, I can't get that from the library. It seems to be, I don't know if it's exactly out of print, but it's harder to get. But I found a copy online for $4 and I snapped that puppy up. It's bigger than I thought it would be. Jane compared this slightly to Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson. It's supposed to be a hoot, and I'm all down for that. I also have another book because of Jane. This is The Anubis Gates by Tim Powers. This is a very famous Philip K. Dick Award winner, and I'm just going to read you what it says on the back because this is why I bought the book. It says, only the dazzling imagination of Tim Powers could have assembled such an insane cast of characters. An ancient Egyptian sorcerer, a modern millionaire, a body-switching werewolf, a hideously deformed clown, a young woman disguised as a boy, a brainwashed Lord Byron, and finally our hero, Professor Brenton Doyle. Okay, sold! The next book I have is Shadow Ops Control Point by Mike Cole. This is the first book in his Shadow Ops series, and it is military fantasy, making it a bit outside of what I usually read. If you kind of look at the cover, it looks a bit like one of those mass market paperback Tom Clancy military knockoffs. I don't believe it is that at all. I just really like Mike Cole as a guy. I followed him on Twitter for a while. He's a pretty regular guest over at the Skiffy and Fanty podcast, and I've really enjoyed whenever he's on that podcast. He also did a really excellent interview on the Tea and Jeopardy podcast. I will link that because I think it's fantastic. You have to admire a guy who just goes full in on the premise of that podcast. He's like, yes ma'am, no ma'am, the entire time. It is really great. And at this point, I'm just like, if I like him so much, I need to buy one of his books and support him. If I don't like it, that's fine. I will still really like him as a person. And if I don't like it, I'll just give it to my dad because this may actually be something that my dad likes. The other pretty random book I got is Servant of the Underworld by Aliette de Bodard. I have read some of de Bodard's short fiction. Most of them I think were science fiction. This is fantasy. And I was never really interested in her short fiction, but when I know that an author has also written novels, which are more my type of thing, I try to try those as well. This is the first in her Obsidian and Blood series. It's published by Angry Robot Books, and it's an Aztec fantasy mystery set in Tenochtitlan. And do I have to say anything more than that? Yeah? No, I don't think so. Next, I have Prudence by Gail Carriger. This is the first book in her new Custard Protocol series. It concerns Prudence, who is the daughter of Alexia Terabody-Macon from the Parasol Protectorate series that begins with Solus. I love that series, and I'm really enjoying the other spin-off, the Finishing School series, which is YA. I don't know if this is YA or adult. I'm gonna guess it's adult. I honestly don't know, so I'm gonna read it. Next, I have Full Fathom 5 by Max Gladstone. This is the book that does not have decapitated ladies on it, and I think they're gonna cut you. I mean, you just see the glare on that lady? She's looking at you and she's like, I see you, and I'm not putting up with your BS, so yeah. I don't know what this one is about. I think Gladstone's plots are pretty much like mysteries, murder mystery type things set in a kind of urban steampunky fantasy world. Each book takes place in a new city with different characters, so you're not always sure what you're in for. You're always going to have a new set of characters, and I quite like that setup. Yeah, I got my own copy. This is Anathem by Neil Stephenson. I talked about this, I gushed about it, not very coherently in a recent weekly wrap-up. I'll link that if you care to know what I think about it. This is really great. This is my favorite Neil Stephenson book so far, and I was very happy to get a relatively floppy trade paperback edition because whenever I go to the used bookstore and look for Stevenson books, they always have these massive mass market paperbacks that are incredibly hard to read, so this is really nice. This is a really nice copy. Next is Threshold Volume 1 in the Collected Stories of Roger Zelazny. There are 6 volumes in these beautiful hardback editions by Nesfa Press. Thank you to Rooster for pointing out to me that these exist. I was really impressed with the Nesfa editions of the Vorkosigan books by Bujal that I recently got, and Rooster messaged me and we were talking about Zelazny, and he sent me a picture of the entire collection that he has, and I was like, oh, I need that. I did resist and I only bought the first one. They are not cheap. These are nice hardbacks. This particular one it's organized into stories, articles, and curiosities, as well as an entire section of poetry. What have I gotten myself into? Whoops. I'm particularly interested in A Rose for Ecclesiastes, and The Doors of His Face, The Lamps of His Mouth, which are collected in this. Those are on my to-read list, so I will read this before I buy any more of them because they are relatively pricey, but when you line them all up together, they make a picture. I need this in my life. The last 5 books are all SF Masterworks editions. I went kind of crazy on Book Depository and got a whole bunch of these. The first 2 that I got are Doomsday Book by Connie Willis and To Say Nothing, don't hit myself in the face, To Say Nothing of the Dog by Connie Willis. Doomsday Book is the first novel in the series, her time travel series. It's my second favorite, and this is a replacement copy. I have a beat up paperback copy, but this is so nice. And then To Say Nothing of the Dog is the second book in the series and my favorite by far. The actual title of the book is To Say Nothing of the Dog, or How We Found the Bishop's Bird Stump at Last. And if you're asking, what is a bishop's bird stump? Read the book. It's hilarious. This particular one is about Ned Henry. He is one of the time-traveling historians, and he has been going back to like the mid-20th century, trying to recover some stuff, and then he gets sent back to Victorian England, and he has time lag. The book is so funny because he is so confused for most of it. I was laughing out loud while reading this book. Next is Dahlgren by Samuel R. Delany. I really enjoyed Babel 17, so I decided to buy this edition of Dahlgren. It's massive. This is an 800-page book, and this is the only SF Masterworks edition that I have that has the really, really thin pages, and it's floppy. It's like, the other ones are not floppy. This is floppy. Why can't they all be like this? This is about the crippled city of Bologna, and a kid comes to town. I don't know what any of this means, but the back of it says this is hugely controversial, ambitious, and Delany's most popular novel. I will read this soon. This is one of my challenges. Oh my god, look how floppy that is! The last 2 SF Masterworks books I want to show you have a similar theme. The first one is Ammonite by Nicola Griffith. I discovered this book over on Elizabeth's channel, Books and Pieces, and number 1, I think it has a beautiful cover. I'm really in love with this shade of blue, but it also sounds very interesting. It is about a virus that kills all the men on a colony and alters the surviving women. This is probably going to be a very interesting story about gender or feminism in SF. That's what it sounds like to me, at least, and I'm all down for that. And the second book I have to show you is in the similar vein. This is The Female Man by Joanna Russ. This is about 2 worlds. One world where the Second World War didn't happen, and it looks like gender inequality is even worse. And then the other world is one in which no men exist, all the people are women. I really want to read something by Joanna Russ. She's a really big name in SF. She is really known for her SF criticism, and I do think that The Female Man is her most well-known work. That is it for this book haul. If you've read any of these books, you want to talk about them, please let me know. I don't really know what some of these books are about because they were pre-orders and I just went, I know I'm gonna love that, I'll just buy that. So if you want to talk about them, please don't spoil me too much. Just let me know down in the comments. And I will be back with another video eventually, and until then, bye.